For most of my life, I believed that friendship, true friendship, was a blessing God sends only once. And for 40 years, I thought I had mine. My name is Lillian Ward, 72 years old, retired nurse, widow of a good man, and the kind of woman who paid every bill before it was due. I lived quiet, simple, peaceful, until the morning peace walked out of my life forever. It began with a letter, a white envelope, no return address, sitting in my mailbox like a small, silent threat. I opened it with no fear, no suspicion, just routine. Then my heart stumbled. Notice of approval, personal loan, $18,500. Loan? What loan? I hadn't borrowed a dime in years. I read it twice, 3 times. My hands shook harder with each word. The letter said, "Congratulations, your loan has been approved. Funds will be deposited into your listed account." Except the account number wasn't mine. I called the number on the letter. The woman on the phone sounded confident, too confident. "Ma'am, you signed this application digitally on Monday." Monday? I was at Bible study Monday. I didn't sign anything except the prayer sheet. I hung up, hands trembling, fear tightening around my ribs. Identity theft, fraud, scams. Words you hear about in commercials, not words you expect to walk into your living room. And as that fear wrapped around me, I did what I'd always done when life felt too heavy. I called my best friend, Martha Jean Taylor, my sister in everything but blood, the woman who brought me soup when I had the flu, who prayed with me after my husband died, who sat at my kitchen table more than anyone else in my life. She answered on the first ring, her voice sweet, soft, comforting. "Lil, what's wrong?" I told her everything. For most of my life, I believed that friendship, true friendship, was a blessing God sends only once. And for 40 years, I thought I had mine. My name is Lillian Ward, 72 years old, retired nurse, widow of a good man, and the kind of woman who paid every bill before it was due. I lived quiet, simple, peaceful, until the morning peace walked out of my life forever. It began with a letter, a white envelope, no return address, sitting in my mailbox like a small, silent threat. I opened it with no fear, no suspicion, just routine. Then my heart stumbled. Notice of approval, personal loan, $18,500. Loan? What loan? I hadn't borrowed a dime in years. I read it twice, 3 times. My hands shook harder with each word. The letter said, "Congratulations, your loan has been approved. Funds will be deposited into your listed account." Except the account number wasn't mine. I called the number on the letter. The woman on the phone sounded confident, too confident. "Ma'am, you signed this application digitally on Monday." Monday? I was at Bible study Monday. I don't sign anything except the prayer sheet. I hung up, hands trembling, fear tightening around my ribs. Identity theft, fraud, scams. Words you hear about in commercials, not words you expect to walk into your living room. And as that fear wrapped around me, I did what I'd always done when life felt too heavy. I called my best friend, Martha Jean Taylor, my sister in everything but blood, The woman who brought me soup when I had the flu, who prayed with me after my husband died, who sat at my kitchen table more than anyone else in my life. She answered on the first ring. Her voice sweet, soft, comforting. "Lil, what's wrong?" I told her everything. The loan, the letter, the fear. She gasped, made all the right sounds, said all the right words. "Oh my Lord, who would do that to you?" Her concern felt real. Too real. Like a blanket wrapped around a wound. She said she'd come right over, bring coffee, help me sort through it. And she did. She sat at my kitchen table, took my hands, prayed with me, and promised, "Don't you worry, honey. We'll figure out who's doing this to you." Her voice trembled with emotion. But now, looking back, I know exactly what that tremble was. Not fear. Guilt. At the time, I didn't know I had just invited the thief right back into my home.
For more real stories of pain, truth, and redemption, subscribe now and hit the bell icon. Your support keeps these voices alive.
Martha stayed with me the whole morning, sipping coffee, rubbing my shoulder, telling me everything was going to be all right. If anyone else had said it, I might not have believed them. But Martha? Martha had been beside me my entire adult life. She was the woman I trusted most. Around noon, I went to check the mailbox again, just in case there was more information from the loan office. When I opened the metal door, my stomach tightened. Another letter, and this time, it had my name printed in bold. Inside was a credit card statement from a brand I had never used, charges for electronics, jewelry, online orders from stores I had never visited, nearly $6,000 in purchases, all in my name, all shipped to an address across town. I stood frozen in the driveway, letter in hand, heart beating too fast to keep up. Martha hurried toward me. "Lil, what is it? What's wrong now?" I handed her the letter. Her eyes widened. Her hand flew to her chest. But what I didn't see then, what I only recognized much later, was the way her eyes never quite focused on the paper. They focused on me, watching my reaction, waiting. I felt dizzy, overwhelmed, like the world was tilting sideways. "Martha," I whispered, "someone is trying to destroy my whole life." She hugged me tighter, too tight. "They won't get away with this, I promise." That afternoon, Martha insisted on helping me call the bank, the credit bureaus, the card company. She sat right beside me, guiding every call, coaching me through the words. But at one point, when I stepped into the kitchen to get a glass of water, I walked back into the living room quietly, too quietly, and I heard her whispering. Not praying, not comforting, whispering. Her voice low, sharp, urgent. I froze in the hallway, body stiff, ears tuned. She didn't see me. Yes, she got the letters today. My heartbeat stopped. No, she doesn't suspect anything. I covered my mouth with my hand. A small gasp escaped, and she heard it. The look on her face when she turned wasn't guilt. It was fear. Fear that I had heard exactly what she never meant for me to hear. I stepped back slowly, as if the floor beneath me was cracking. "Martha? Who were you talking to?" Her lips trembled, just slightly, too slightly. "Oh, my niece, baby. She wanted to check on you." A lie, clear as glass. a lie she didn't bother to cover completely. Everything inside me tightened. The bills, the loan, the new address, the whispering. For the first time, the thought crept into my mind. What if the danger isn't out there? What if it's sitting in my living room, holding my hand, calling me sister? But I wasn't ready to accept that. Not yet. So I forced a smile, a fake one, just like hers. And I said, quietly, "Martha, I think I need to rest." She nodded, relieved. Too relieved. But as she gathered her things to leave, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Her purse, unzipped, and inside, peeking out, was a stack of envelopes. My name printed on all of them, unopened.
I kept every letter, every bill, every envelope, because somehow, deep down, I knew the storm had only just begun. Then, one morning, while I was stirring oatmeal and listening to the gospel station, my phone rang. The caller ID said, "Fraud Department, urgent." I remember my hand shaking as I picked it up. "Ma'am, we're calling because someone attempted to open 3 new credit cards in your name this morning." I dropped the spoon. Oatmeal splashed across the floor, but I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. My heart felt like it was folding in on itself. "Do you recognize this name?" the agent asked. And then he said it. Her name. Marjorie. My best friend. My sister in everything but blood. The woman who sat in my kitchen every week, praying and laughing with me. "No," I whispered automatically, but inside, a storm was rising. The agent continued, "Ma'am, she listed herself as your caretaker, your financial proxy, and your emergency contact." Caretaker? Proxy? She was none of those things, but she had been around me enough, had seen my mail, had heard my stories. She knew exactly how to sound convincing. The agent lowered his voice. "Ma'am, we strongly believe this is someone close to you." I hung up the phone and stood in the middle of my kitchen, feeling every year of my age press down on me like a weight I could not lift. I thought back to the help she offered, the way she'd pick up my mail before I even reached the door, the way she'd say, "Oh, honey, let me take that paper, don't you worry about it." And suddenly, every kind gesture felt like a piece of a puzzle I never knew I was solving. Then, another thought hit me. Hard. What else had she taken? I walked slowly to my bedroom cabinet, opened the drawer where I kept my passport, social security card, and old documents. My passport was gone. My spared checkbook was gone. Even the folder with my late husband's pension papers, missing. That was the moment I sank to my knees, not because I was weak, but because the truth was finally speaking loud enough for me to hear. Marjorie hadn't just stolen my identity. She had stolen my trust, my dignity, my safety. And sitting there on the floor of my own bedroom, I whispered something I had never said about her before. "God, please show me what to do next." Little did I know, his answer would arrive in a way I never expected, through a stranger who had been watching Marjorie for a long, long time.
3 days passed. 3 long, sleepless, trembling days. Days where every knock at the door made my heart jolt, and every shadow made me wonder if Marjorie was watching me. Then, one evening, while the sun was melting into the horizon, there was a firm knock on my door. Not gentle, not friendly, firm, like truth demanding to be let in. I opened it slowly, and a young woman stood on my porch. Mid-30s, a badge on her belt, a folder tucked under her arm. She opened it slowly, and a young woman stood on my porch. Mid-30s, a badge on her belt, a folder tucked under her arm. She opened the folder. Inside were documents, pictures, phone records, signatures. She turned one page around so I could see it. A forged loan application with my name, my birthday, my social security number, and underneath, Marjorie's handwriting. I covered my mouth with both hands. Tears blurred the page. I recognized that handwriting instantly because it was the same handwriting that wrote me birthday cards and condolence letters and sweet Sunday notes for the past 20 years. Detective Harris said gently, "Mrs. Turner, this isn't the first time she's done this." I froze. Done what? She has a pattern, a long history of befriending older women, gaining their trust, and slowly taking control of their finances. It felt like someone had punched the air out of my lungs. She starts small, picking up mail, handling errands, offering help. Then she begins taking documents, passwords, checks, IDs. I felt a tremor run through my whole body. "Why didn't anyone stop her?" I whispered. "We tried, but none of the women ever wanted to believe it. She was their friend, their comfort, their company." She looked into my eyes, a deep, painful empathy in her voice. "And we think you're her next big target." I felt my heart break and harden at the same time. 20 years of friendship, reduced to a strategy, a trap, a plan. The detective leaned forward. "There is a way to stop her, but you have to be brave." I wiped my tears, sat up straighter, gathered every ounce of strength life had ever forced me to build. "What do you need me to do?" She placed a recorder on the table, then slid a paper toward me. She said, "I need you to let her talk, to let her confess, to let her show her intentions. Tonight, she will call you." My breath caught. "How do you know?" "Because we've been monitoring her," she said calmly. "And she just tried to use your missing passport." A cold chill traveled down my spine. The woman I loved like a sister was out there right now, pretending to be me. And she wasn't done. Not even close.
I sat in my living room with the lights low, hands folded, heart pounding like a drum in a funeral march. Detective Harris waited in her unmarked car outside, listening through the recorder she planted under my table. Tonight, after 20 years, I would finally hear the real Marjorie. At exactly 8:17 p.m., my phone rang. Her name lit up the screen. I answered. "Hello, Marjorie." Her voice came through sweet, soft, fake in a way I had never noticed before.
Hey, baby, you sounded so stressed lately. Thought I'd check on you. But the detective's words replayed in my mind. Let her talk. So I did, quietly, carefully, painfully. Then she said it, the line that sliced open the whole truth. Sweetheart, if you want, I can help you handle your bank accounts. All you gotta do is sign a little permission form I'll bring over tomorrow. My throat tightened. Why would I need that? I asked softly. She hesitated, and in that hesitation, her mask cracked. Well, you know, you're forgetting things. Bills, passwords, important stuff. Let me take it off your hands. She was gaslighting me, manipulating me, speaking to me like I was weak, old, confused. But this time, I wasn't. Not anymore. I steadied my voice. Marjorie, where is my passport? The silence on the line was thick, heavy, trembling. Then she tried to laugh. Oh, that old thing. Maybe you misplaced. I didn't misplace it. And the bank told me you listed yourself as my caretaker. Another silence, longer, sharper. Then her voice shifted. No sweetness, no friendship, no familiar warmth, only cold truth. You don't know what you're talking about. And if you start accusing me, things might get very hard for you. My eyes widened. That was it. The threat the detective predicted. The final proof. I whispered, Marjorie, why? And with a voice dripping poison, she finally revealed her real heart. Because you don't need all that money. You don't go nowhere. You don't spend nothing. You sit in that house alone. Meanwhile, I'm out here struggling, and you got everything. My tears fell, not because she betrayed me, but because she had resented me all these years, in silence, in secret. Then the front door burst open. Detective Harris and 2 officers charged inside. Marjorie Price, you are under arrest. Marjorie screamed through the phone, but it didn't matter. She was already caught. Her schemes, her lies, her identity theft trail spanning years. All recorded, all documented, all over. They escorted her to the street. I stepped outside, leaning on the porch rail, watching the woman I once called sister, the woman who sat at my table, the woman who prayed with me, now placed in handcuffs. She looked at me over her shoulder, eyes wild, voice cracking. I took care of you. I shook my head slowly. No, Marjorie, you used me, and I survived you. The detective walked back up to me. Miss Turner, it's over. You're safe now. For the first time in weeks, I felt air fill my lungs, without fear, without doubt, without her. And as they drove away with Marjorie, I whispered into the quiet night, God, thank you for showing me the truth. Because sometimes justice doesn't arrive loud. Sometimes it arrives with a badge, a tape recorder, and the courage to finally see what we never wanted to believe.